It's Sunday, April 19th, 2015, and you're listening to the Film Project Podcast, episode 75, Ben-a-fleck. This episode is brought to you by Iron Go Brewing in Spokane, Washington, Kaufman and Associates at KaufmanInc.com, and O'Doherty's Irish Grill.
We are going to roll.
All right, I'll get here. Ooh, man!
Okay. All right,
there's
everybody.
your visual cue.
Oh, great.
It's freaking empty.
all that setup, and Tom jumps on it. Welcome to the Film Project Podcast. We're a conversational podcast that is an extension of the Spokane Film Project. You can find out all about us at SpokaneFilmProject.com. We're made possible by IronGoatBrewing.com. Jason, show our viewers. We have viewers now.
Oh, yeah.
Show them what we're doing, what we're drinking.
Drinking the Farmhouse Ale from Iron Go Brewery.
I've never heard that name
That's it, right
before.
here.
That's it. Yeah, it's Belgian or Saison is what they said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I got some nice Arrowhead water. And we're also made possible by Kaufman and Associates. So everybody who's always I guess they've just seen the pictures on the podcast, but this is our podcast studio.
We're losing viewers as we.
Hey, Mom, Dad.
Jason-
I'm in
Jason
France
wants
with
to-
you. Hey.
I'm not getting Jason at
Oh,
all.
really?
That's
Okay.
all right. We didn't lose any.
Damn.
That's all right.
We don't need Jason.
No,
Is this one of those we start over completely?
I don't know. I can't.
Okay.
It's not coming in.
I hear him now.
You come in tomorrow morning, right?
Yeah.
For the
What-
gag?
Oh, yeah. I want to see you shot in the face.
Oh, okay.
So,
So what are we drinking?
all right, we're drinking the Farmhouse Ale from Iron Go Brewery. It's a Belgian or Saison.
Saison. What's that?
Saison. It's exactly what I said.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know.
Sweet.
It's
Yeah.
good.
And
Boyd's just rolling his eyes right now.
It's an ale. Well, he asked a question. It's a Belgian style
There you
ale, but it's a
what?
Saison.
A Saison.
Yeah, what?
Oh, okay.
I explained what it was, and then you make fun of me for
That
not
really
knowing
makes
what.
a difference
No,
for you?
no.
It didn't.
No.
Yeah, it's a Belgian style ale.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is Kaufman
good,
and
though.
Associates. That's where we're filming. What is our frame on this, Brandon? Like, what do we see? Do we see like everything?
Can you tell Juan's not wearing pants?
I cut out one. I was able to cut out one,
Good.
Okay, good.
and then see my.
Can you see us?
Oh, we can't hear Brandon.
We had
a technical nightmare
video
today.
element, and we take
Technical-
away the audio element.
So it's a silent podcast.
It's a silent film, but I'm not in frame. So, no, you can see Juan, Jason, Tom, and Sean, except for you can't see Jason when Juan is.
Yeah, you can see my
I
shoulder.
want
you
to
can
see
his
the
shoulder,
frame.
So you can't judge me. I know there's a bunch of film people. You can't judge a non-film guy for framing this. So, yeah.
No one's watching. No one's listening.
So Sean just adjusted it for us. Hopefully this will be
I
a
didn't
little
touch
better.
it. It's pretty good. It's not too bad.
All right.
You should join the union.
Oh, thank you. I will.
Yeah.
I'll bring my iPhone along.
Yeah.
You're changing. Oh, all of a sudden I moved.
I think what we should do is have a
Actually, sorry,
tally
open up a little bit.
of how many beers
You
Juan
just put
and
him
I.
in front of me. No.
That doesn't matter.
We should have a tally of how many beers we consume during the.
That'll be good. It'll be a drinking game. So
Yeah.
See, could be fun.
All right, let's start.
So,
All right.
so Kaufman Associates at KaufmanInc.com, and
Which is located in Paris, France.
Paris,
Hi, Mom,
France.
Dad, I'm just right around the corner.
There we go. Are your parents in France right now?
My parents are in France right now.
Are they really?
What
Yeah,
brought them
you
there?
haven't seen the pictures? My mom's been posting
Dude,
for the past couple weeks.
I have not looked at Facebook.
Has everybody added Tom's mom and dad on Facebook?
No,
Wait,
anyone that is my friend, my mom friends.
What's your mom's name?
Leanne Deneen.
So every time she's the first person to like.
likes our podcast. She's the first one. She likes our podcast.
photos.
Yes.
Nice, very cool.
At least we got one.
Yeah,
I think I don't know if Ron's still listening, but he could be.
yeah, he's watching now.
Yeah.
He might not have pants on.
Well, they're not seeing this live, though, are they?
They're not seeing
No,
it
it's not
live
live.
right now, but
Live is
That's
coming
our next goal.
That's
our
next goal.
step.
Yep.
Our second goal is to not talk over each other.
That'll
Which
never
that's
happen.
not.
We were doing fine till Juan
actually-
showed up, and then
And finishing our sentences and thoughts. So let's go ahead and finish our opener.
Anyway, what's
Yeah.
no.
What?
we're gonna force everyone to wear headphones next. That might be the next thing.
It
Bring
might
some
be
headphones
weird,
in.
but
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Juan's gonna. Everybody can finally see that Juan doesn't have a mic. We just have to put a lav mic on him so he can walk around we used to have the tree in here, and one time Juan just like walked around and was like hiding in the tree.
Behind the tree.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, anyways, for our loyal listeners, you guys know it's been a little bit of a break because of a couple of things that were going on in the film world in Spokane. So the last thing you probably heard was right before the 50-hour slam. So how did the 50-hour slam go, Juan?
What's not over yet?
Well, how did the live
kickoff
event go?
weekend
The
went
kickoff.
fantastically. We had
Correct.
37 different teams.
Is that the most you guys have ever had?
No, but
we've had
it's the
37.
most number we ever had because we tallied actors, performers, technicians, everybody involved with one team. We had 300 people.
Okay,
year.
so
That's
the
the highest
amount of people. Okay, but what about teams that turned in?
Turned in. We're right about average.
Oh, okay.
We had 35. We had 35 teams that turned in, 32 that turned in on time.
So essentially, the teams are getting bigger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I think is smarter.
Yeah, I think one year we had 42 teams, but that was smaller teams.
Yeah.
And that was like the second year, I think.
So with bigger teams, can you speak to the quality of the films? Have you watched all the films?
Yeah. Yeah. We always watch. We literally watch it like usually like the Tuesday.
And we watched it right here.
What are
Wow.
you doing? Oh yeah, it's, we watched
He's
it.
throwing up gang signs.
It's Kingdom. It's a 50-hour slam.
What'd you think?
I can't say. Cannot say right now because we're still in the judging scenario.
okay.
So I rather
Sure.
prefer.
No, I'm not talking specifics. Just a global overall.
Every year I think they're always better and better.
Okay.
That always
A
in that-
market improvement year over year.
You know, 'cause
Now, are you
On May 2nd, when you come to the screening, you are not going to be disappointed whatsoever.
No.
just
guarantee
saying
that.
this? Because I hear you say this every year.
No,
Is this
but
just
it's true, but it is
marketing
true.
thing,
No, it's
or
not
is this
true. No, it is
honest?
true. No, because it's the bar slightly maybe slides a little bit here or there, but then you have to take into account. For example, we had 2 teams or 3 teams this year were under the age of 18.
I want to
think
say
so.
at least two.
Oh,
At
wait,
least
which
two.
teams?
Not yours.
Okay, good.
Under the age of 18, we had one team that was literally 13-year-old girls, little
Yeah.
girls. So
Calm yourself,
yeah.
Sean.
We're not talking about maturity level, Sean. We're just
yeah,
talking about
yeah,
actual age.
yeah.
So you know, that changes it slightly, but what they brought to the table was amazing.
Sure.
You know, at the same time. So
I was looking at some of the films from last year. There was a film when we talking last time about 50-hour slam. You guys talked about a high school kids team
Right.
that we really liked. I don't know if Tom wanted to look that up and see what film that was.
that was
Odin Bim.
yeah.
What was it called?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
double check. Yeah, I'm just curious
Because
because
that was the same kids who did the Clinks that year too.
oh, okay. The one
Photo
where
band.
it was the guy who goes out to pee in the side of the road.
Right, with the van. That's
Okay.
that same team.
Oh, okay, cool.
They were at that time they were juniors. They should be seniors this year. I think they're all should be wrapping up, and I think they were out of Ferris.
Oh, okay,
If I remember
cool.
correctly.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I wanted to watch that film because you said it didn't make the screening, but you guys loved it.
Yeah.
And I was flipping through the films online, and maybe I just missed it because I was trying to track down the film.
That's this year. You
This
said
was
it
last
didn't-
year.
Oh,
This
last year.
Last year's film, yeah.
So
But-
it was
but-
part of the viral vote.
It was part of the viral, but the you know the exciting part for us is the vastness and the eclecticness of the teams that are being formed, all the way from the younger age to people who are doing it for the first time, to people who have done it every year, to a couple of people who returning back from first year, you know, things like that.
So why do you think that it does consistently get better? Do you think it's because technology is easily accessible and cheaper, or do you think it's because the same teams have done it year in year and so they're learning stuff? Or what do you think?
To be honest, I think it's a combination of both. I do feel that as technology is getting easier and people are being able to access it much better at different times, that's one. Number two, not so much the people are returning, but because there's so many other things happening in town that are becoming video based, we're getting people doing more throughout the year, which was always the goal, kind of the 50 and the Spokane Reel was to have people, and the original 48 was to continue having people do other projects outside of just the festivals. And I think you're seeing a lot more of that. A lot more.
I think it really comes down. I mean, it's as technology improves and as people get better and better, as a quote unquote working professional, it gets harder to keep up with these people that quote unquote are amateurs. And I don't mean that in a negative way. That's just like they're just getting into it. I mean, that's a positive for them, and you got to keep up with it. And I think it really comes down to, at a certain point, the quality technically will be pretty much on par with the professionals. But where I always see both amateurs and professionals fail is when it comes to script.
Story. Yeah,
Story.
so just say
and
that,
it's
yeah.
and it's not one or the other. It's some professionals have great scripts, some don't. And same with amateurs. And then, it's also things that are left out, and that's when you once you get a lot of experience behind your belt, you realize what those are, like sound. Sound is one.
Right.
Cleaning up all the little things that people think by themselves are, oh, that's not a big deal. No one will notice that.
Right.
Yeah, but collectively, they are greater than the sum of their parts.
I
think it speaks to no matter what medium you're working in, whether it's film, whether it's photography or painting or whatever, everybody has access to this technology or the medium itself. It's what you do with it. So we did get a lot of high quality films turned in, but not only that, we're getting, and I mean quality in like technical sense, but also quality as far as story and production and everything else. And the beautiful thing about that is, at first I thought, well, maybe it's because, we're getting repeat people coming in. But when you look at the teams, we had so many new teams in there we had never seen before.
Yeah.
Creatives in Spokane who I know personally that I didn't know were going to join the Slam, who went, oh, we're gonna shoot the 50-hour Slam, and they had a whole new team lined out, and they did amazing stuff. So it comes down to the filmmaker and the artist behind those films, and we had some great quality.
There's two big points that you made that it's even non-slam oriented, which I totally agree with you. That there's going to be a point where technology is so easily accessible that technically wise, for the slam or for amateur people make a project, it can be very tech dead on.
Yeah.
I think usually the biggest link or the biggest weakest link is audio. That's a whole beast in itself, and I think people forget about it, nor do they figure out how to sweeten it later.
Well, what happens is, being a participant, what will happen is, depending on the size of your team, one, no one wants to do sound right away. When you're a small group, people, they want to act, they want to do camera, they want to do a couple other things. For my team, we had someone who said, I want to do sound. So I think for the most part, we had pretty good sound because we had one dedicated person who their job wasn't to do sound and also to do the catering and to help with camera. It was just one guy who just wanted to do sound.
Right.
And I think that helps out a lot.
But I think it's funny that shit.
Wow.
Hey, Gretch, we're on live at the podcast right now. Can I call you back when I'm done? Yeah, and you're on video too. What do you really need answers right now?
Stuff's going down.
I'll call you in the break.
We have breaks. So, and to speak to Jason's point or somebody's point about quality of story, I think when we were planning our team, we came together and we started coming up with ideas, and I said, we have a good idea, let's make it more interesting. And not to spoil anything with any of the films, but like with our film, we basically said, how can we add a layer to this so it's not just a single story? Because our story started out with two people in a room talking. We had a funny idea, but at the end of the day, it's two people in the room talking. That's what our script started as. And then we added this.
Which one was yours?
Ours was the Morte or
was Pavel in yours?
No, it was
with Tom
Meisford and Jason.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I said, no, remember.
So,
yes, got it.
Our film started off as we had a good idea, but basically it was two guys in a room talking, and it was all dialogue based. And we said, how do we take it out of the room for a bit, and how do we make the room more interesting? And I think that helped, because our film, we could have done the same exact script with two people in a room, but I think we added a couple of elements that one made it a little more challenging, and two made it so that two people in a room talking wasn't as just boring.
Right.
And when it's a comedic script, how do you with dialogue, how do you play that out in a way that's interesting when it's just two people in a room?
But in continuing with what you're saying, I do feel that that's really I mean, I'm sorry. Let me go back to something you said. The technology thing, which I agree with you. As professionals, it's forcing us to be on our toes even more about that technology because these young kids are getting it and they're coming in. Oh my God. Gretch, can't talk to you now.
I love your ringtone. It's like never-ending story. Or something.
Anyways, the point I was going to make is that where the big divide happens, it to me is in not just story, but also storytelling, because a lot of times there can be a great conceptual concept, but how they told that concept didn't pan out.
Well,
Technically, it can be completely savvy, but what I was going to get to is that one thing that we forget. I know that we deal with video and we do performers, but you got to look at all storytelling. You got to look at reading. You got to read. You got to look at short stories. You got to look at long stories. You got to look at movies. You got to look at plays. You got to look at radio productions. I mean, all these things have format, and the format of storytelling becomes a formula that you got to be aware of and understand. Where is your turn? Where's your hook? Where is our pivotal turn for our character? Is it character driven or is it outside the world driven? These are all the things that I think people forget, and that you just start running around telling and shooting a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I was younger, I would do films and then show them with people that were at least somewhat professionals in the business, and I'd see, and I'm young at that point, and I would see they've got all these jib shots, and I'd be thinking like, man, it's just like hopefully this is kind of inspiring, because like I felt this, and I'm sure people feel this, but it was almost like it's kind of unfair, Yeah. It's not unfair is the reality, but I felt that because they've got all these awesome, cool shots that are like jib shots and all that stuff. But now, I mean, then it was you really had to have that equipment to do it. Now, if you want a jib shot, depending on the extremity of that shot and how how big of a move it is, you don't always need an actual jib. Like there's programs that can smooth out just a hand move, and make it look like a jib. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that basically technology, it's the same point I made earlier, that technology is getting to where it doesn't matter anymore as much. It still matters some, but if you get to a certain point, there is a turning point where the amateur and the professional, where they meet, and unless you're doing big, serious, big budget shows, it doesn't really matter that much. And what matters the most is story, always story.
Yeah.
Story, and
the technology becomes purely a tool.
And then talent. If you can find the actors and the directors and the story, really just the storytellers, to be able to realize that vision, that story in the way that is, by opinion, the best way to tell it, then that's really what it's about. It's technology, yes, it makes things easier, it makes things crisper, but look, I mean, there's a lot of shows that are not the show Derek is not technically good,
It's pretty sloppy.
Yeah, but it's a great show because
it's a great story and
it's a great character. It's a great, great, and it's I mean, there's a lot of things like that. You look at some films, that's their charm. Some films lean on that too much as an excuse. But it's when it's true or not true. You look at people who have all the technology in the world, which is Michael Bay. And I have somewhat defended Michael Bay in the past because people just blast him for being a hack filmmaker. He's not a hack filmmaker. He knows how to make what he makes really well, but he doesn't know how to really tell a story.
Yeah.
He just knows how to make awesome superficial images and awesome action.
Yeah.
But, that's my opinion.
Well, no, it's a solid opinion though. I think because the other argument to technology is just because I have the jib, does that jib enhance the moment that I'm trying to tell?
Yeah,
right.
Or does the jib arm all of a sudden become its own character,
becomes its own
character in the
takes it
movie.
away.
Which that was kind of one of my arguments with some of the stuff with Scorsese shortly after Goodfellas. Does it became that for me personally?
Yeah.
There were sometimes these movies you'd be like, dude, why are you doing that movie right now?
But But with Scorsese, that was clearly Scorsese. Now Scorsese would say he's ripping off at least 5 filmmakers there. But that is what we see is Scorsese. Right. Maybe not what you saw, but I mean,
it was just a one-shot casino where we followed De Niro's ass to the car, which I just never understood why was that. Why did that have to be a tracking shot?
Yeah,
it was nice.
But
I think you said it yourself. De Niro's ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that good of an ass.
But it's
he's got like a cracker ass like I do, so no.
But it's kind of a cool. I mean, it depends on what you want, what you like. You know.
No, I do. But to me, when you start bringing in technology, I don't care what it's if it's in after in a visual effects world or on set with the certain toys you bring to the set, they got to enhance that moment you're trying to create. They can't just because otherwise it's just masturbation.
I mean, for me personally, I had access to a jib on Lady Luck, the very first film that I did, but I didn't want to use it because it didn't feel right. Now this is coming from like shortly before. I mean, not shortly before, but a while before. I was seeing all those cool shots and other people's stuff, and I was like, man, they got all the cool gear.
Yeah.
That I don't have access to. Now later I did have access to a lot of cool gear. But I still chose, and I'm not saying it's the right decision. I'm just saying this is the decision that I did make.
Yeah.
I didn't want to use it then for that. Now, the next thing I did was 63 Comet, and it's got a ton of jibs.
Yeah.
And then the one after that, which is Marty, doesn't have any. So I really feel like it's got to be, again, filmmaking is all opinion. It's all opinion, and whether or not the collective opinion agrees with you or not, you know, you're going to have a success or not. But I just didn't feel that was the right choice in 2 of those to go with using certain gear.
Yeah. So that May 2nd is the screening event at the Bing Crosby Theater.
Doors will open at 5:30. I could spoil this part. We're looking at potentially having some pre-sale tickets availability. We're working into that, but we'll see what happens. It'll be on the Facebook page if it does happen. The other part is to chime in with what Jason's been talking about. This year we will announce probably right after we announce the 15 films being screened that there will be an added award that we're doing this year based on the best story.
Really?
Script,
Okay.
or the best, basically the best script, best story, because and we will be doing that, and that'll be chosen by the organizers this year.
Oh, cool. So
like we do the actors.
So you have best script, best actor, best actress,
best editorial,
and then were you gonna do best cinematography?
I don't think so.
So I see once again stunts are left out of it.
We're doing everything we did last year.
Did we do some?
I can't remember.
I think we did an editorial. I think we went with editorial instead of cinematography.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everybody will check that out. So we not everybody saw the Netflix roulette that we were supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah, that was.
How many people saw it?
I did.
Like we said, nobody saw it.
Yeah.
Brandon, did you see it?
No.
Brandon never sees anything.
I was busy watching Daredevil.
All right,
You know what? No. I will tell you, you guys should watch it.
I do want to see it.
It's
I just
pretty
forgot
interesting.
all about it.
It was a film that was shot in Jordan, and
It was on my roulette.
I know it's supposed to take place in Iraq, and they used former Marines in the film.
Oh wow.
It's a little uneven, but it's really interesting. What I can say about it is, because maybe we'll never get to reviewing it, but what's really interesting is they're very good at showing both sides of the story. You have the Marines, and you have the people living in this village where some incidents happen, and some of it is very heavy-handed, but overall they're really good at showing both sides of the story, and I think that's the strongest thing about it. So I'm curious what everybody's going to think, because when I first started watching it, I almost wrote it off because it was kind of bad acting, and dialogue was way too on the nose. But as you go through it, I got a little more drawn into it because of what they were trying to do.
Right, so we'll make it for sure for the next one then.
Yeah, for sure. So, but I think what everybody did get a chance to watch on Netflix was Daredevil.
Daredevil.
Well, I saw the first episode.
So you saw first episode. Tom, how far are you into it?
I'm all the way through.
I'm all the way through it.
3.5.
And Brandon?
All the way through.
All the way through it. Okay, cool. So, yeah. Yeah, you guys are too busy for Daredevil. So, Jason, having only seen one episode, what was your thoughts?
All right, so going in, I was not interested in seeing it. I thought it was going to be another. Well, I hadn't seen anything on it, so I was expecting it to be another Gotham or whatever. But I wasn't excited to check it out. I said, I'll give it 15 minutes or whatever, and then I'm sure I won't want to watch anymore. I really liked the first episode a lot. I thought it was some of the best cinematography I've seen in TV. I've had some conversation
Which is funny. You and I had a strange conversation with a friend of ours.
Yeah.
Who just bashed the look.
Well, are we talking about the same?
Yeah.
person.
Bashed the look and everything. And it was so funny because I went, wow, I really like this look.
Yeah.
I mean, even though I've been a fan
The same
of
person we
Gotham,
were talking about too.
I don't know who we're talking about now.
even though I've always said, Gotham's fun. Gotham feels like I'm on a stage. Gotham felt
I
very
feel
stiff.
like Gotham's a pre-lit stage where every angle kind of
and I
works.
really did like the look, and I did like the vapor look. I did like I don't know if it's all
That was a bit of
vapor
the
or
problem this
chocolate.
person had as well, was that he could tell where on the stage they hung the lights. And
But it's funny you mentioned lighting because I've recommended this film or this show to several people. They texted me back. One person was like, I saw episode 1. Does it get better? But the biggest complaint, which surprised me, I was like, yes, it's going to get awesome. But the other thing was way too dark, and not like brooding dark, too like the good scenes of the show. And this continues through all 13 episodes.
Oh, I love that.
Very
dark it was.
dark. You never
Like
get
the one
really
where the
get
two
that
Russians
from me.
were in episode 3, I think it was, where the two Russian brothers are in the thing. You could barely see them.
You can barely see it, and part of me
House
is
of Cards
bothered
is
by
like
that though. What's
House
that?
of Cards is like
Yeah,
almost
but-
technically too dark sometimes.
But with the one thing that House of Cards does that this show doesn't do, House of Cards either in the background or in the foreground, there's something super bright. So
There's
a
something to contrast
Yeah.
with
and that's
it,
a lot
yeah.
to do with
I
the
didn't
stage,
see-
with the
I didn't see
production
that
design.
with Daredevil, at least in the first episode.
No, I like the influences of the colors that they're using.
Yes.
I really like the fact that it was always constant. It felt hot. The red,
So
the Daredevil,
not only
the
is
red. There's always a little bit of red somewhere.
I thought
There's
the
always a little
acting
bit of
was pretty
Yellow. There's a lot of yellow,
A little
yeah.
bit of that amberish color,
Yeah.
And I enjoyed
Well,
that.
see, the
But-
amber
liked it
color
too.
is exactly what the person we were
I know,
talking
I
about
know,
did not
I know.
like.
Which I'm not sure it's amber. That actually could be chocolate, by the way.
Well, it's a tobacco filter.
Yeah, the tobacco.
dish.
Yeah, right.
But I didn't mind it. I
know,
felt
I-
it was.
I felt it was appropriate.
Yeah.
Where I got disappointed is when they went to some of the exteriors. I want to say episode 2, maybe 3, where all of a sudden it went to a very blue look.
Okay.
Because
So,
they were there,
Interesting.
technically they were
Yeah.
outside.
so that's what
They
I
were
was going to
outside. I'm
say.
like, why did they go? Why did you just
Yeah.
took me out of it? Now I'm back to the freaking blue look.
So that's what I was going to say is now I made it. I just fell asleep. It wasn't for any other reason. But I was watching episode 2 and I made it about 15 minutes in and I wasn't as digging the cinematography
Really?
because the lights of the scenes
Which
stuff.
is so sad
But I
because
didn't-
when you get to the end,
I know I didn't make it to
Sorry.
the end. But what I was saying was the street lights felt too bright. Now maybe I'm
See, and those are the things that I'm really liking because even though everything is really dark to me, the scenes are really dark, and I feel like I feel like it's overly dark. But the things that I'm loving is that color.
It's
when
vibrant.
when they bring in the color, it's like wow, that is
They're
really
using
good.
color and darkness to play. That
Yes.
becomes as opposed to in House of Cards, there's a lot of white being
Yeah.
used to to get
Right.
that pop in. They're trying to use the color to do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's working overall. I really do enjoy it. And yeah, the alley. There's an alley. Is that in 3? Is the alley scene where he's found in the dumpster?
Yes.
That was
was that 3 or was that
that's right in
4?
the
that was
beginning.
second.
That's
That
like,
was the-
that's the cut. That's the cut.
well,
one.
yeah, that's from
That
1 to
alley.
2.
That alley is kind of. It's a little bright.
That's
but
what I was talking about.
I was all right with it.
But see, I'm watching it. I'm not watching enough of it to see how that plays out.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know, I'm watching it and I've only got
Correct.
a few things to pick from. and that is coming after the conversations that I was having. So maybe I'm being.
Well, it's funny because I was ready to not to like it after that conversation that we had with our friend.
Yeah.
And I was ready not to like it because I hated the Daredevil, the movie version thing.
That was terrible.
And I hadn't seen anything.
No, I hadn't seen anything. And then I really have never really understood the Daredevil storyline. I mean, I understand he's blind, but all of a sudden he's got the super hearing thing, and I never made any sense to me. I mean, even Batman kind of explained it because he's got a little computer shit going on in his ear.
Yeah.
So I could either you put me in the pure fantasy world where it's Thor, or you put me into like Batman, where he's augmented his power and skills.
Let's just put Juan in a Batman suit.
Daredevil's, I'm like, what is he? How does he get these extra skills? Yeah, I can understand being able to hear when it's in that fight.
Well, I think
in the fight's in close sport, but when he hears 3 floors down, I'm like,
Well, and that's part of the superhero thing.
Yeah.
But did you notice
he did receive some superhero powers when he lost his sight?
I don't know the
And
comic book story that well. So it doesn't flesh that out.
Okay, so
it maybe will eventually.
Something that you'll see more of as he's explaining what he is to the people around him.
So again, I'm not a comic book guy per se, but why doesn't every blind person in that world
Well,
get
what
these
happens
powers?
is this was actually one of my favorite things about the series. And it's the complete opposite of what Gotham was, whereas Gotham was, we're going to hit you over the head of every story point in 39 minutes. This, you don't even really get a peek into his origin until a couple episodes in.
love
you don't
that.
find out anything.
This is written for binging.
Yeah, that I
Well,
love.
no.
that part.
I don't think you have to.
Oh, binging.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no.
I'm like, what is binging?
Yeah,
Binging?
it is. I think it's a good storytelling choice. Instead of hitting the origin over that, they could have done the origin episode that starts with him as a
they're
boy.
feeding me enough that I want to come back. They're not telling me everything right away. Yeah.
And I don't think you guys won't know what this means, but I don't think Stick shows up till like episode 8 or 9.
Yeah.
6. I think it was 6, but
There was an episode called Stick.
I gotta say,
it's
I
further on.
really dig the fact that it's really a crime show first and foremost.
and that's what I thought Gotham was going to be, and I was like, this is what Gotham
Gotham
was.
turned into soap
Come
opera.
on, but come on,
Gotham
it's
turned- no,
really.
If
But-
it's gonna be a show on one of the main networks, they're not going to.
No, they're
they
not
gotta
going to.
they gotta. He'll go. Here's our villains.
Yeah.
Here's our heroes, and then they go on and they do some.
Gotham to me. Go ahead. Sorry.
Gotham was meant. Gotham. The idea, what they were trying to sell people was Law and Order that happens in Gotham. It never became that show, but that's what I think a lot of people wanted it to be. They wanted a procedural that had these kind of comic book elements to it.
Oh, Law and Order, like the show.
Law and
Sorry.
Order, yeah.
Okay.
But I think Daredevil's excelling, but in the Marvel universe is being something different. All they had to do, I approached it as I did not want something as cheap as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's not a cheap show. I'm sure their budget is huge, but it's never, when I watch it, I feel like I'm watching a TV show. They could have done that. They could have like taken these same scripts and done it with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s production values, and they went beyond by, I think, giving the creative forces behind it a little more room to make it like artistic.
What I really love myself is that this no, it's right of what you're talking about. Is that this? It almost reminds me of the 1980s Spider-Man TV show, the live action.
There was no 1980s Spider-Man. There was a 70s.
Was it 70s?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm older than
Are
I
you
thought.
50 years old?
I remember hating it because I was trying to watch
Well, no.
Looney Tunes and Spider-Man was real, and that would come. I was like, no.
But it's the amount. I mean, it doesn't look like they're doing any wire work in this. There's
they are.
no.
You're wrong, by the way, about that.
What?
There's a lot of wire work in there.
But it doesn't look like there is. It's
not
not
an
like
over-
people flying through the air.
But it's not yes, it's not an over stylized. Okay, it's not over stylized, but there is definite wire work in there.
Yeah, but if you watch the progression of his powers, and that's what I love about this show, is that they start off by just showing you this guy who's kicking a lot of ass, but his powers do progress. And I was thinking the same thing at the beginning, that I really appreciate it doesn't look like wire work because this all looks believable. By the time you get to episode 7 and moving forward, moving forward,
and tell me that those fights actually look believable.
no, they don't look, especially episode 2 when Jason gets there, because I really want Jason to watch it. the second episode, that fight scene did not look real, but it was
In the hallway.
in the hallway.
The
It didn't
hallway-
look-
No, see, but here's my.
that one didn't look real at all.
It's overly staged, but the one aspect that I'll give it, its saving grace, was the fact that they were slowly getting tired. So in other words, you could actually
Right.
see physically like them getting exhausted.
That was actually just him having a fight with the crew. That
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and they just kept sending in a new
what are
stuntman
you
on the
saying?
poor guy.
They were
Is it
tired
still
because it was a
cool,
one shot.
though?
it's very cool.
It's a fine balance. It's a fine balance where you don't have the overly Matrix or the Chinese,
Crouching
crouching
Tiger
guy,
and-
and that kind of fighting. But it's still pretty stylized.
But you
It's
still.
still
So
pretty
my
stylized.
point was
So
going to be.
It's somewhere about a little bit less. I would say it's a little bit, maybe if you lean into realistic aspect, maybe a little bit more realistic than Batman's fights, the movie versions fights, a little bit more realistic.
They are.
But it's a lot better use of the environment,
It's
Yes.
brawls.
which is very
Yeah.
very
It brawls.
The
They're like-
difference is
yeah.
you will get to some things that are more. One thing I forgot to mention about his origin is when there's that accident, what he gets hit with is chemicals.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah, so that
It was a nice
explains
goo.
part of his powers. That's
But it
why he
doesn't
has the
explain it
superpower.
to me yet, but I'm assuming
Right, yeah.
eventually it will.
But
And it's just like a radioactive Spider-Man. This is
Yeah.
radioactive goo or whatever that gets
Right.
in his face.
Yeah.
there's
In the eyes.
whenever
I
he's,
actually love the way they did that with the eye thing.
oh yeah,
When
yeah.
his dad tells him to close his eyes in that first episode, and the liquor just kind of takes
Yeah.
over his eyes, and just
Yeah.
he's gone.
Yeah.
You have going to the
You have
to the
Hulk
fights.
on your face.
I do have the Hulk on my face. Yeah, Juan has scared me to death right now. We'll get to that in a second. Because I started Googling things and I'm just like, I'm dying. So yeah, thanks, Tom. Thanks,
No,
Tom.
they'll just take a piece of your ass and put it up there.
Oh, that's
No,
nice.
And then you
since
can
you're
tell everybody
talking
kiss you
about it,
right
let's say why Juan is scared.
Oh no, I had a little like what I thought was a zit, and it started bleeding, and it bled for like all night, and then Juan said, someone said, oh, it's probably skin cancer, and Juan comes in and says, yeah, it is. So
I didn't say it was. I just said you should
you get it
definitely
checked.
take a look at
Yeah.
because that's exactly what happened to my dad.
So then
Same thing.
then of course I do the smart thing and Google
He goes
things.
to the internet.
So I start finding things, and all of a sudden I realize, yeah, I'm dying. I have liver failure. It's cool. No worries. It's totally cool.
No,
Went to liver failure.
So what I like about it, and you will get to the martial arts fights because he is going to fight some martial artists, but when he's fighting the street thugs, it's a brawl.
Yeah.
And when he's there's different levels of fights, and everything in this series is just down and out brawls.
Which one's the third? Well, no, which one's the one where the guy at the bowling alley? Is that 3?
That was 2, I think.
Was it 2?
Because they're representing him.
Yeah, it's the opening of 2.
the bowling alley is 2.
We'll
It's
double check,
2 or
but-
3. I
I
can't
gotta say,
remember.
the point is he fights that same guy at the end of that episode.
And that caught me off guard too. I think
It was a great setup because I'm like, oh no, they're gonna
Yeah.
use that thing to
my
kill
God.
him. Like a spin job, and he's like, and just I don't care if it's a spoiler or not, but it's just like, and then having the guy going, I'm more afraid of the top dog, evil dog. Then I'm taking myself out and goes right up to that point thing on the fence. Goes,
don't spoil.
just jams that. I'm
so
just
good.
like, oh, that was good.
That was one of the best caught off guard moments in that show that I was like, oh,
I didn't
what?
see- because they set it up earlier in the fight. So you figured it was going to be part of the fight. And when it doesn't, you're like, oh, you forget about it. And all of a sudden when he goes there, and you're like, oh.
I gotta say, having only watched the first episode, I love when the guy who played the warden in Shawshank, it looks over to the Asian guy and he's like, "Could you at least pretend to be cold,
Dude, he's that way the whole show.
That happens through a lot. That happens in a lot of movies where they're clearly in a place where you'd be freezing,
Yeah.
and the rest of the crew that's filming it is freezing, but they're just like this, and inside they're just like, "Oh my gosh."
Well, that and the other line that he had. Do you understand what he says? He's Japanese. It's still close enough, right? There's a lot of. I have a lot of faith that right now that where this show is going. I'm curious to see where it lands up, though.
I gotta say because this doesn't, these type of things don't get called out very much, but the title sequence is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad you
That
said it
takes a
because
lot of skill to do that.
there's one other title sequence which I love, which is the Black Sail.
Yes.
The Black Sail title sequence is one of my favorite.
Game
title
of Thrones is brilliant.
Watch the Black Sails one.
no,
Watch,
Black Sail.
Serious. Watch the Black Sails one. It's amazing. Game of Thrones good. This one's amazing. Made me think right away of the Black Sail.
If you want to see, actually, this is a good.
And the theme too, the whole blind justice, and then going into his mask and all that.
Go to, if you want to watch a lot of title sequences, go to the artofthetitle.com. There's great, it's like all the great titles. Actually, the Ward made it on there, which is, it's a cool title sequence. I don't know if it's one of the best, but
right. No, but you should see the Black Sail one. It's pretty amazing.
I was also curious what you guys thought about the. I don't normally pay attention to camera angles and stuff like that when I'm watching because I'm not in the film stuff like you guys are. But I started paying attention a little bit more because there's some new stuff in there that's caught me off guard, and those being the
like the camera being on.
Yeah, the camera being on. No, when I say the 180 shot, I don't mean the normal 180 shot, but the panning that they're doing with especially in the hallway scene, the camera actually pans from left to right in a 180 shot and continues to film. And then there's a few 360
They
as
did a
well.
lot of movie.
Yeah. We'll need to talk because it also, I liked it there, but I was so jaded because of this other movie that we just recently watched with It Follows.
Okay.
Yeah, I was so jaded. I'm like, it's just, but yes. I did.
Wait, did you see It Follows and then you watched?
Yes.
Daredevil?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Should have spent more time on
I would have.
Daredevil.
I would have done the Daredevil.
We'll find that out on a future episode, perhaps.
But what I like is their stuff is really subtle,
Right.
And even listen, I'm bashing the show that I was giving him a hard time for not looking at Gotham's overly stylized, over the top. This gets subtle enough, and it's an appropriate angle changes for what is happening.
Right.
I still do like what I like in the fights is that momentary slowdown and that overly emphasized sound concept. So you get the fact that he can feel what's happening.
Yeah.
The little chain, and he goes, all right, he's going to use the chain,
Yeah.
which is pretty impressive. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I want that part of the story point clarified for me more since I don't know enough about the Daredevil.
I think they're working on that too, because like I was saying, they're slowly, gradually introducing you to who Daredevil is, and he's discovering who he is. So you're kind of learning along the way. He goes from being this like street brawler fighting thugs to climbing up buildings and standing at the top of buildings
Can I
and
ask
listening.
one question though? Not that he's doing a bad job, because I think all the performances on that. I love his sidekick is hysterical.
Yeah.
And I mean, I knew the girl was going to be the secretary from minute once I saw her.
what is she from?
True Blood.
True Blood.
True
She was
Blood?
one of the
Oh,
sisters, right?
Yeah.
The girl.
I think she came on later in the show, but I don't know. I haven't really seen her.
I mean,
much.
they're doing really well. I mean, all the performances are at a good level, and of course, not to spoil who's playing the head baddie.
Dude,
we
he is
all know.
amazing.
I mean, he's in the opening credits. I
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His performance is
so that's all exciting, but I kind of feel storyline wise, is our hero a little old to be?
Is he a little what?
A little old. I mean, physically old. I mean, how old is he?
I don't think he's
No, they're
I don't think he seems
fresh
too
out of their first internship. So
I'm guessing from the lawyers I know, I'm guessing he's 28 to 32.
They've-
Right, but I feel
they
I
graduated
feel
from law
that actor's
school.
older. I feel that actor
And
is
they-
35 to
he could
40.
be.
Oh, wow, I don't know.
I
They
think
just
he
finished
fits the
their
part, though.
what is it that immediately after law school?
Yeah,
then you
the
usually go.
internship, yeah.
Well, but it's not an internship. What's it called? It's
It is called an internship.
Might be a
But they
fellowship,
actually
I
get
don't know.
paid.
yeah.
They actually get paid. It's a paid internship concept.
Yeah.
They even said it in the script. It's the
Associates.
internship.
You will get to an episode where it's them in college and they have them in like different wigs.
Oh no!
It actually works. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna say the one thing that did bug me was performances.
Which one?
Really?
Well, let's stick to one or two.
Foggy.
Love
You didn't like Foggy, but I
he's
think
great.
Foggy's great.
Is that his sidekick?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
sidekick.
yeah. Just his deliveries
like
at
him?
times they felt like he was going for something and he was falling short.
I think the opposite. I think that he's the only thing that's got some charisma on that show.
He's got some charisma. He definitely brings the comedic, relief, but at the same time, it's not over the top. So he's going to bring a little bit of charisma to the show.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like this awkward comic relief that to me it falls. It doesn't land right.
I disagree.
It never bothered me because I guess partly because I know the character in the Ben-a-fleck film was played by Jon Favreau, and it was always that character was always kind of played a little goofy.
And to me, he didn't. of all the things that were horrible in
Sure.
the Ben-a-fleck film, John Favreau's
Ben-a-fleck?
Wait, John Favreau was in
Yeah,
Daredevil?
he played the sidekick. Yeah.
and which one of the internet headlines here that I thought was hilarious and wanted to read off is this Daredevil fight scene is better than the entire Ben-a-fleck movie. And that's
Yeah.
Stop
talking about
calling him
the
Ben-a-fleck. Ben-Affleck.
But
No, well,
I don't know if I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, but I don't know if I would agree with that because for me right now, one of my favorite scenes is the bar scene between him and the secretary. I forget her name. Pamela?
Yeah.
Pamela? Is it?
no,
Or the
no,
Karen.
Karen, whatever.
Yeah, Karen
That
Page.
bar scene before he eats the eel, which I want to know what the frick is a drink with an eel in it, first of all.
right?
But that bar scene, it's so well done. It's that he's the awkward one. They establish it right from the get-go. How in the hell do you get all the hot chicks? How can you smell them when
Yeah.
you're blind? I'm this goofy, Irish, kind of punchy little guy, awkward. I'm going to embrace what I am. And he's like, screw it, you know? And I've only seen 3 so far. I've only seen one awkward moment that I felt a little stiff. Was the knock on the door when our associate bad guy came in to hire them. The little bit of like, was that a knock on the door?
Yeah.
That was the
Was
only
that
thing
Wilson? No.
Yeah, that was the only time that I felt that
That was the bowling alley guy.
it felt. Yeah, they hired him to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, they hired
him
him. Yeah,
to-
yeah.
But it was the only time I
Wesley.
it felt like a TV moment at that moment. You know, like,
It
oh,
kind
okay,
of
come
did,
on.
but they still.
But it was okay. I forgave it, but it was probably the only time where I didn't feel like the humor.
I feel like as the show progresses, Foggy gets really funny. There's a part where his line delivery, like, so he meets another girl that, what's his face, the Daredevil has on the side. She's a nurse, and he's talking about her, and he goes, "Yeah, I met her."
What's her name, right?
Yeah. He goes, yeah, I met her, and of course she's hot. Why wouldn't
it's,
she be? Like, he
it's-
always has this thing about how she's always hot.
From
yeah.
Grindhouse.
From Grindhouse, yeah. And
Yeah.
also the chick.
Rosario.
Rosario, yeah.
Rosario
yeah.
Dawson.
Dawson.
Yeah. So
I didn't
one-
know she was in that. When
See,
yeah.
I'm actually a huge Daredevil comic fan, and I followed the comics throughout the years. I think the thing people always bash the Ben-a-fleck one, and here's the thing, and rightfully so. If you rewatch that, I guarantee the first 20 minutes of the Ben-a-fleck one are just as dark as this series.
Oh, come on. No.
Yeah, no,
Maybe
I'm-
from
yeah.
a story standpoint, but not from the Mark Steven Johnson vision.
No,
of that
Now to
film.
No, I think you
Rewatch
might be
it.
right. I think you might
Rewatch
be
it.
right. Because that's usually what it started unraveling about 30 minutes in.
what
for me.
happened
I think you might be
behind
right.
the scenes, and if you read stuff about the behind the scenes, and ultimately if the movie's not good, the movie's not good.
Did Mark Steven Johnson also use this exact same excuse on Ghost Rider? Because Ghost Rider was atrocious.
It's a horrible movie, but what I'm trying to say is if you rewatch that, have you seen the Ben-a-fleck one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What you might not
Forgive me, it's
remember.
official
That's
title.
what it's gonna be.
Ben-a-fleck one.
What you might not remember.
Ben-a-fleck.
It's like genuflecting. I'm sorry, I was raised Catholic, so genuflect, Ben-a-fleck.
No,
Genuflect, I'm sorry.
So
the Pope.
what had
bro.
happened behind the scenes is this is before Batman Begins. This is before anyone tried to do. And let's take the director out of it. They tried to make a very serious Daredevil movie, and halfway through they changed a lot of stuff. The first part of that movie is a really like dark film, darker than anything in Batman Begins. It starts off with Daredevil coming back from a fight, crying in a shower, picking a broken tooth out of his face, and then going into a sensory deprivation chamber. Now, from there on,
It's not like I forgot the movie. I
Yeah.
know the
Oh, I
movie.
do.
But I mean, I wish I could forget the movie.
Yeah.
But you're trying to say that if I go back and watch it, it's suddenly going to have some different meaning to me.
I think there's elements that are
There's
better than you remember.
failed attempts. in
No,
the first
there's
20 minutes.
no.
Oh man,
I would say there's elements that are very good in the first one, and obviously it's not a great film overall.
No.
No, but to say that it's darker than Batman Begins,
It
no,
is.
Come on,
That first 20 minutes, I think.
no.
Well, we'll have
We'll have an argument.
a dare off.
Yeah.
You know, and that'll be our next. If we could actually do like a live thing and screen the first 20 minutes of both,
gosh.
and then have our podcasters like chime in.
I just love.
I don't want to, but I want to go away from your point. I mean, I'm curious more. I mean, because he's so. it's so great so refreshing to have that type of a character in this kind of thing.
For me, it was the performance. I did feel that, and this is something that I saw with Z Nation. Just like
Careful, because they're paying your check again.
Oh, yes, they are. Yes, they are. And I love the entire cast, and I'm not talking anything negatively about the cast. What I'm saying is, and I think this is the same for every single TV show out there, you know, the first couple of episodes, they're kind of figuring out how they interact with each other. You know, this group of strangers is brought together and
figuring out their characters. You know, Game of Thrones, the whole first season.
You and I had that argument.
I really feel like they're. It's like they went on Game of Thrones. Now they're not bad actors, clearly, but it's like they went to the school of serious face to learn how to act because they didn't know their characters yet. They're really good actors, so now they know their characters, and now it's a huge success, and it's the same with anything. Like take The Office or take which for a comedy.
Let's take something that's classically everybody in this room, I'm sure, has seen it. The original M.A.S.H. movie and the M.A.S.H. series.
Never. Sorry.
Okay. Really?
I never seen them. No.
Oh,
my mom watched the TV show.
You have to. Anyways, having seen the original,
me now.
Yeah, having seen that, what the show became, what Alan Alda did with
Alan Alda,
because the other one was the short cowboy.
Alan Alda.
Yeah, Alan Alda did with Hawkeye versus what Hawkeye was in the movie version.
Alan Alda was not Hawkeye.
Yes, he was.
Oh, well, okay.
No,
sorry.
Jeremy Renner plays Hawkeye.
No.
I was thinking Hawkeye was the one that dresses up and like a woman and tries to get out.
No.
Okay,
that same actor played
that's
both.
Radar. That's Radar.
No, Radar does not dress.
Radar.
That's Klinger.
Radar's the dirty guy, right?
What?
Klinger.
Klinger, yeah. Klinger, and he was in both. And
Let
he
me
was
say
actually in
something.
both.
This is going to be my mom's favorite episode. We're talking about M.A.S.H.
My point being is that the darkness of what M.A.S.H. the movie was and what those characters did, Elliot Gould and Donald Sutherland, and then what Alan Alda did with Hawkeye in the series, two very different things. And there was a huge arc for that character. But the most brilliant, the most brilliant thing was the point that at the end of that series where Hawkeye has the breakdown, the guy who's been holding everybody together, and he has the breakdown. But that's not at all, in any way, shape, or form, the same character that was in the movie. And you're right, it's discovered as the season goes along, and it becomes this thing like, where do we take this character next? Where do we go with it next?
It's also, and
but is that harder? Here's my question. The reason I was asking is this harder, though, in a comic book series where kind of like the characters kind of, where it's going is pretty much set. Anybody who's a big comic book fan knows where the Daredevil goes.
You can get away with certain things that you can't in movies that you can't in TV, and vice versa. So I see that the difference between TV, the movie and the TV show of M.A.S.H., especially at that time, was big. Now both are considered comedies. But the TV show is more a comedy than the movie.
It is a lighter comedy, and it has to be.
Yes, it has.
It has to be on TV versus a artistic film by
Robert Altman.
Yeah,
remember the F word was that was the first time the F word was ever used in a movie was in M.A.S.H.
Oh, really?
Was it really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
That's the first time.
They didn't do it in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
Check that fact.
And actually, everyone should watch the really, really good documentary called Altman, I think.
Yeah.
And it talks about how Altman actually got fired by Jack Warner himself from Warner Studios for he made a film and he had people talk over each other.
Yeah.
Because he
hated that. That's right.
because he felt that he goes, and Jack Warner goes, "What is this crap?
Nashville.
They're talking over each other." And he goes,
Nashville.
That's what it was.
The film.
Yeah, and he's like, I didn't do this. Altman was like, I didn't do this on purpose to like spite you. I just felt that this is how people talk. And and he got fired. And then I think eventually physically bought the film back or something and finished it himself. But from that, I realized
Wait, is that Nashville or
I think so.
I think it was Nashville.
It might have been earlier than that, but I feel like I had no clue who Robert Altman was. until I saw that. I only knew Robert Altman, the old man, which seemed to be kind of a quiet, gentle, frail old man when he's anything but.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tom, you were trying to say something earlier, and then we kind of like deviated.
I can't remember anymore because
Okay,
I was
We
good.
were talking
No,
about
I'm just joking.
we were talking about characters and,
Yeah.
and their development aspect in a series.
So
Sure. And to actually go back to that, and we'll see how soon I get cut off here. Well, one of the things that, just being on set, Juan's counting down the seconds before
You're
he cuts
cutting
me
yourself
off.
off. Just so you know.
I didn't even have to do it. You did it yourself.
Definitely saw the characters within Z-Nation melding and being able to more cohesively interact with each other in the final product.
and hopefully that's every TV show.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Well, too.
Well, that's why I said hopefully.
Well,
Yeah.
too, look at it. The actors don't know until the scripts come out where their character's going. So they're a lot of times just as in the dark
Well,
as the rest of the crew.
not that bad because they
sure
have a
there's a-
sense. They have a sense of where their arc is, having had conversations overall. But yeah, but
Sometimes depends on who the showrunner is and how they want to deliver information.
yes.
But
How much
and I'm sure
access they
I'm
have.
sure on Z Nation that was definitely talked about.
It's
with them.
it's already started already.
Yeah,
'Cause that was just part of the
clearly.
meeting
I mean, we all
recently
know
about that.
certain aspects of where it's going, but the little details no one knows except
But
for
it's not so much it's the nuances that the actors didn't have a chance to play with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But going back, again, it's bugging me that you don't liking them.
It's as it gets further on, and when they do have the
Is it score?
Don't give in. If you don't like him, don't give in just because Juan thinks you should.
No.
I'm not saying two. I'm just saying
No,
that
I
the
know.
first 3 episodes, I think he's.
But when we're talking about him not having not being as smooth and getting the hot chicks like which he jokes about, and then a little further on we meet a lawyer who's at another firm, and she is absolutely smoking hot.
she's a 6.5 in my eyes.
Oh,
Whoa!
I have high standards.
I'm sorry.
Bring her up. Bring her up.
She's
bring her
an
up,
8.
bring her up.
She's an
Let's see.
8. Actually, no,
What is
she's
she?
an 8.
She's
Oh,
a
so we're gonna
bombshell.
Bring up-
do. So we're
bring
gonna
up-
do hot or not now.
Yeah, hot or not. Bring her up.
No.
Let's bring her up. What episode?
character-
Honestly,
Wait, what episode is
honestly,
this?
I'd
I gotta
swipe
get to
left.
The character is a blonde bombshell.
Okay,
right.
what's
She's
the
a bombshell.
character's name? I want to bring her up.
I don't remember. Just there's only like 12 characters in the show. Just bring it up on IMDb. Like so. Anyway, so from what you saw, Jason, what would you give a rating on it so far for Daredevil?
that's
Just
kinda
what you
hard.
saw.
Yeah.
I know it's hard, but
I would give an 8.5. You know,
Wait, what's our scale?
What's our
What is
scale?
our scale?
5 stars.
I was thinking IMDb. I'm suddenly going to
Yeah.
that. 5 stars. I would give a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Juan, having seen 3 episodes.
It's right in a solid 4 right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens to it.
I'm gonna say for the series, I'm gonna say 4.5. Yeah, it gets better. It really gets better. I think every
Netflix is telling me I'm a 5 when it's done.
Yeah.
You know how they give you the suggestion thing? But
Yeah.
we'll see.
and
Yeah, but it also thinks I'm going to give like Ice Road Truckers a 5, and there's no way.
It's pretty good,
though. Yeah. I'm
What
sure.
about you?
I like this.
So Tom, having seen the full season, what would your score be?
Definitely a 4.5. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I have very small quips, but I think it's a fantastic. I mean, I love the rawness of it. That's what really got me was the raw feel of it. It didn't feel like an overproduced, heavy
okay.
CG
All right.
Marvel
Yeah,
Enterprise
yeah,
like
yeah,
all
yeah,
of the
yeah,
other.
yeah.
Well, it's
superhero.
definitely.
That's
I
when
mean,
you go
it's,
to raw.
it's-
Yeah, because it's not raw. It's still pretty slick. It's still pretty slick. But
But the style it's done in
the
is
slickness doesn't overtake the story.
one thing they're allowing them to do is actually go into R-rated territory.
Yeah.
Because I think they
There's a breast shot.
was there.
Oh yeah.
You don't see a nipple, but you see.
I saw.
You saw. Oh no, I paused.
saw.
Yeah.
What about Brandon? What about you?
Well, I wanted Netflix is also saying I'd give it a 5, and I really do want to give it a 5. There are some small quips that I have with it, so maybe I'll give it like. Can I give it?
I don't
Do whatever you want.
I don't know how
What's
you
the name
give-
of this?
We've
this,
given things
this woman?
4.75.
That's I'm going with the 4.7. So 4
right.
3/4.
Okay.
What's her
How's that?
name?
Oh no, you can't go with 4 3/4.
That's 4.75.
Yeah, I know, but you got to say 4.75.
Okay, so 4.75.
Yeah.
I'd say the only weakness I really found in the series was
Amy Rudberg.
there's a handful of episodes, maybe episodes like 9, 10, 11, where things kind of slow a little more. See, Juan doesn't agree. Is it the blonde? Let me see.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I totally agree. She's one.
She's an 8. I mean, she's
a solid number.
And we've easily gone sexist on this.
She's a solid number.
Male chauvinist.
Yeah. It's all in the eye of the beholder.
Totally. Because when I saw
Beauty is
on there, I
blind.
went,
Is there?
oh, yes.
If you like Rosario Dawson, watch Danny Boyle's last film.
What, Trance?
Yeah.
Trance.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's that is
Wrapping us up.
We're gonna wrap it up for this episode.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Thank
the
you so
entire
very
episode.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much to Iron Goat Brewery. And we were drinking what today?
The Farmhouse Ale.
Who else should we be thanking?
We're gonna thank Kaufman and Associates.
I would like to thank God for this opportunity to
To just be you.
yeah.
I want to thank Juan for letting me know that I probably have, according to my research, I might have ovarian cancer.
I can tell you easily have ovarian cancer.
Yeah.
And you
so-
caught it. And I can tell you how you caught it, too.
Yeah.
And thank you to O'Doherty's.
KaufmanInc.com. They make this beautiful room possible for us and all this nice equipment and a TV that we've used once for the choke.
And thank you very much to O'Doherty's for sponsoring the Spokane Film Project website.
Yep. I just want to do a little quick shout out. A couple things going on in town that by the time you listen to this, you should, if you can, go to the closing weekend of Equus. Equus, to me, it's amazing. It's an amazing theater piece. But Troy Dickerson and the cast have put together a wonderful production that is definitely entertaining and leaves you a lot to think about. There is full nudity and full frontal nudity, so it's not something to bring children
It's
to.
just dudes though, right?
Nope. And then there's also
Sean, you are on video this time.
right.
So you going, yeah.
and that's overplaying at stage left. The other one will be an original script version of Sherlock Holmes that was written for the Civic Theater with a friend of mine named Damon Mensler, who's playing Dr. Watson, and that's closing next weekend as well. There's a lot of other things around town occurring that please pay attention as we're getting closer to Get Lit. Should be happening around your area this week. There's amazing 17th annual for this festival. There's amazing shows between poetry readings, short story readings, and always every year they always have a live performance interpretation of some novel that they've chosen. I'm not sure what it is, but you can go to Get Lit site to double check on them. They'll be playing all over town, and they should be playing basically from the 20th till the 26th around town.
Cool. All right. Well, until next week, thanks for joining us on our first video podcast. Down the road, we're hoping to have some interactive episodes. So we'll make sure that on the Facebook and on Twitter, we're pimping that out. So the goal would be to have a live broadcast where people can tweet in or message in.
Do they get like individual voodoo dolls that they can poke us?
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? They just
All of a sudden we start moving
the
around.
person in the hut, the old like Wicca in the hut, just slowly putting some shorts on a voodoo doll for Juan.
All right. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Cool.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.